Top of the morning. You guys are middle morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Kim.
Look at those ladies on their treadmill walking. I wish I had a treadmill to walk on.
That's exactly. I saw Tim say the same thing there. Tim's like, "Gosh, I wish I was doing more exercise than I had to." Yeah.
I have a standing desk, but it's not quite the same as the treadmill. To get one of those to shove under here.
Actually, that's a great way to do it. We got several on our team that do that. Okay, I'm
That's
going
what
to
I
give it
have
just a
going on.
minute.
Yep, love it.
Okay, I want to question why we just wait a couple more minutes for people. How do you? I know a couple of you have been on here numerous times. Okay, but how are you guys hearing, or how are you getting reminded that's working for you guys to come on?
I just put the whole calendar in my Google Calendar, like the whole Silver Creek calendar.
And do you, Karen? Do you go back at um, you have all the trainings, the different opportunities you guys have on there?
Yes. The only thing is it's like not editable, so you can't set reminders or anything. So I try and just look at my calendar and the night before every day.
Okay. And then I saw somebody the text reminder.
Yeah, I got a
Um,
text yesterday.
Oh yeah, I
okay.
think I got that.
Yeah, Kristen has, I think, been sending a text reminder the day before.
Okay. Guys, I want to encourage you, tell your friends, but encourage you guys here. This is free coaching. Your brokerage is paying for this. And anybody that's, if you're a quote unquote rainmaker, I'm just telling you right now, they know the beauty of having a coach. And sometimes you're going to go, well, how does this help? Because it's kind of remedial. Well, then I'll ask you, did you do it before I told you? Then that says it's not so much remedial. So, but that's what people have. So I just encourage you guys, come to these, and I appreciate it because I know that if we continue to do this with you plus other things, you're going to get where you have momentum going, not the single every once in a while check, but you get actual where it starts to come like almost like a job, if you will, where you get like a regular paycheck, right? So encourage you guys keep doing that, and great on you for those come. So I'm going to get started. Here's my thoughts. And by the way, always I'll take a look at the chat, or one of us will. And if there's ever a subject or something you want to know, and or I finish early on here, I can go to something else, but I can make it the next time. I can throw it in the next time. I am going to tell you the same promise I made every single one of you, though, the very first time we did this is not going to be a sexy, fun scenario. I'm going to teach you guys, and more importantly, what I'm going to do is try to help you hold yourselves accountable to the things that you got to do. That's called WORK, so that you get a regular check. Okay, so it's going to be repetitive because in the nature it is supposed to be repetitive on here. Now, if you guys ever want to learn about things, you can go on our Icenhower coaching and training, the AMP that is in your toolbox, and there are tons of things in there that I love to teach, but your price of admission is actually to do the things you're supposed to do every day before you do those. And all of us still got to work on that. Okay, here's my thoughts. I want you guys to think, I've been thinking about where some of the agents that I know and teams that I know, where there's some evidence of momentum. Okay, not transactions, but there's some evidence because there's some repetitive, like they close the transaction and that's applause, but they say, and I just put another one in transaction, right? So there's some kind of things like, okay, there's some build. Here's what I think you want to kind of concentrate on is the little bumps. And if you think about momentum, if I describe momentum as you push a car, okay, let's say you ran out of gas and you push a car, and when you're first starting, it's really hard to break it loose and get it moving. Okay. And I don't, there's mostly, we have a lot of the fairer gender on here. You guys are smart, probably never ran out of gas. I drove a car for many, many years that the gas thing, a Volkswagen, that it was broken, and I miscalculated it many, many times about how much gas was in there. So I never learned. from it. Okay. But that you try to break the inertia, right? It's dead stop. There's so much effort that you got to do to get the thing rolling. Okay. Now, if you've ever watched somebody or if you've done it yourself, the truth is you actually, that super heavy car, you actually at a spot are running. And that's the truth. Now, usually not very long because the car is super heavy and depending on the hill, but you break that initial inertia and then you have some momentum going, right? So the way you continue to have that momentum, like in the car scenario, is you add somebody else to it to help you push. That's what I want you to think about, like what you need to be doing with your business. Okay. You've got, here's some of the obvious ones, and you guys throw in the chat box. I'm going to open it up so I can see your notes. Throw in the chat box the things that we need to bump along in order to get momentum going. What kind of things do you think that we need to bump and continuing to bump to get some momentum going? And it's an all play. And remember, if you don't play, I play voluntold all day long. I'll start it. Oh, there's one. Okay, getting emails. Good job, Karen. So I'm going to put SOI, right? Do we not need to bump the people in our SOI with like emails, texts, etc., right? What about past clients, right? What about business? I call it core 100, but I'm going to put business to business. You got to bump those along, right? What about acquaintances? So these are not quite your SOI, but you might have a phone number. Okay, now I'm not going to move on until you guys give me two more. Okay, love it. Good job, Tim. We need one more. There's a super easy one, you guys. Yep, I would do that too, Karen. How about this group right here? Investors, right? Okay. So if we're bumping these little bumps, we have who, let me ask you this question before I say this. Who finds it hard to think of who am I going to call or reach out to during the week? Who's got that issue? Put your hand up and hold your hand. If you have a problem, who am I going to call? Okay. Right. That's a real deal. It truly is. Because then depending on how big your structured pond is, you'll run out, right? But if you think about this, that in my blocked time that I'm going to bump people along, I'm going to have a little bit of time for my SOI. I'm going to have a little bit of time for my business to business. I'm going to have a little bit of time for acquaintances. I'm going to have a little bit of time for investors. I'm going to have a little bit of time. So now think of those 5 or 6 things I said. Would that not now add up to maybe a 45-minute, time frame or an hour of just calling one, maybe max calling 2 of them? That's what you want to do each day. Now there is prospecting, and by the way, you've not heard me say this, there are 3 courses I would 100% take before I felt I had a chance at regularly doing lead generation. That's going to do farming, I'm going to do SOI, and I'm going to do prospecting. Okay, because all 3 of them really have things that are together that will help you with each of them. So the full story is in all 3. Now, they also happen to be 3 of the longer courses that we have because they're the most important courses that you should do. Okay. So, but think of in your time block. So raise a hands. Who has time blocked on your calendar for at least one day of some portion of that day for doing lead generation, lead conversion? Show of hands and keep it up. And if you don't put your hand up. Okay, I guess we can get off because here's the deal. All you need to do is time block the darn time, and then you just need to do it. Okay, because that's I'm telling you guys, it's as simple as that. Literally as simple as that. Okay, now whatever is holding you up from doing that may be more complicated for each of us, right? But Julie, Sabrina, they're not allowing the gym to get in their way. Right now, they just saved. It's brilliant. You guys are saving like an hour and a half. If you throw the commute in there, you guys are saving like 2 hours and 15 minutes, right? But right now, I've given this guys to your homework before, and I recognize faces I've seen here. time block today on your schedule for when you're going to do some sort of real estate conversations to those groups that I told you. It does not need to be long. It just needs to be every day. And I don't mean 7 days a week, you guys. Honestly, don't. I would just do 5 days a week. I would do it for an hour maybe on there. If you're somebody that's good at it, and I believe that everybody will start to get good at it and more comfortable if you did it, I'd be scheduling like an hour and a half in the morning for me. And then I'm doing like a half hour, 45 minutes at the end of the day because I'm going to try to catch some of those people. Okay. Okay. Now, what you do is you need to remember we talked about bumps, so the little stuff that goes to it, right? So if I talk to one SOI, I'm going to talk to one business to business who believes if you did that, so those 6 or 7 we said, if you just contacted them 5 days a week, you did somebody who believes that they're likely in a couple weeks of doing that to start to get some fruit, meaning some people that are start asking you about real estate and or saying, hey, we're thinking about moving, buying, or something like that. Who believes that would happen if you did that 5 days a week for an hour? 100%. So then ask yourself, why don't we do it? And I'm not judging here, you guys. Like I have struggled my own. It's not my favorite thing to do. I'm good at it, but it's just not my favorite thing to do. And so you gotta get yourself there. Okay, here's what I want to talk about. So we're going to do that next week too. And the next week, we're going to talk about that. But here's what I want to talk about is before your appointments. Let's use the chat box. And so you're going to go out on a buyer's appointment. So let's say you did your job, okay? And you regularly talk to that group of 6 or 7 groups. You talk to one person, a day, or attempted to talk to one person a day in those groups. And you went through, and lo and behold, some people have, I've got some questions about, the market. They take the conversation a little bit further, and maybe they want, fair market value on their home, or they want like a buyer's roadmap, something like that. Okay. So now I want you to type in the chat box what prep work gives you the best chance of success before going on either of those meetings. And I want this to be, you only get to put in one thing, because some of you guys I know are contributors. I want those people that are not going to contribute, let's force them to contribute. Okay. So type in, what do you prep? What prep work do you think gives you a better chance? Okay. Karen, give me a little bit more. Yeah, the answer for sure is yes, but define it into, something more specific. So what somebody would do or take with them, they would look up, etc. Tom, for sure. What things do you guys take? So far, we got a CMA and we got market knowledge. We're going to break that down a little bit. What prep work do you do? Kate, Amelia, I want you to go a little bit farther on what about the market. Tim, give me 2 of those questions that you're going to go prepared to ask. Okay. Good, Karen. So in your market in Bozeman, what forms would you use to tell you that, Karen? Why we fill that out? I'm going to ask everybody a question on here. Anybody have kids? If you have kids, put your house or your hands up. If you've got kids. Anybody got a spouse or a significant other you're trying to train? Okay. So I'm teaching you something right now. Why am I asking you these questions in this way? And you'll have to unmute yourself. You don't get to type it. And I am going to volunteer somebody who has not contributed. So you should be really afraid right now if you have not typed something in. Natalie has her partner there. You can assume that's her husband. And so we're gonna, Natalie, we picked on you last time, so we should pick on him.
There's
okay,
Richard. Say hi, Richard.
Well, CMA was my recommendation, and know your market.
Awesome. Okay, here's why I ask you guys this way, and then I'm going to give you the stuff. Okay, I ask you this way because it forces you to think. Okay, so if you are not forcing yourself to think, and you just go, and I guarantee the vast majority of us are guilty of this, is we go for the easiest answer. We call that person our friend, our broker, whoever, and we ask, hey, how do we do this? Rather than first taking the time to try to figure it out ourselves and then asking. So I want to encourage you guys that try to figure it out yourself, then ask if you're right. Okay. Because in what I have found in this career, my forcing myself to do that, I actually learned some other things while I was searching for that item and the process of it that has made me better at doing this. Okay. All right. So I believe, and where this kind of question came up earlier today with some people, was they were asking, well, Brian, how do you get a higher commission or higher concession? Okay. And so really the answer to that is, and we could do this in the next couple of meetings, we'll role play with it, but it's really starts with the prep you do before your meeting. Okay. That's where it starts. But actually to get a higher commission or concession, or think about like when you make an offer on a home, those kind of things, it's you setting expectations in advance and you building your value before you get to saying your commission or them asking, hey, how much I'm going to have to pay you type thing, right? But that comes from building your value, comes from the prep work. That's why I started there. Okay, so here's what I would show up if it were me. These are the minimum things I'm showing up before either type of appointment. Your market, but there's two markets I'm pulling. Macro market, okay, so I'm pulling the city. I'm going to call that macro market, okay? And I'm going to pull the micro market, so that's going to be the neighborhood, okay? So I pulled the whole city. I pulled solds, pendings, and actives for, in my particular case, because our market has been changing drastically, I would pull 90 days, okay? And I would tell you, you guys probably should too, hint, hint. But then I'm going to pull the micro. So if I'm going to show them, a neighborhood that they like let's say even if it was like a Zillow lead or it was just literally some random lead, I'm going to pull that area. If it's a listing that I'm going on, easier to do, pull the same solds, pendings, and actives, okay? Now, not only am I going to pull them, I'm actually going to done some homework and actually read them before I'm sitting across from somebody so I'm able to communicate it, right? So then I'm also going to pull about information about myself. I'm going to pull information about our Silver Creek team, right? So I'm going to do that in advance because I'm going to have to communicate somehow. Why should you get involved with us? And then I'm going to take whatever contract, if you're going on a buyer's representation or you're going on a listing representation, I take it pre-signed. Okay. So I'm going to use the one because you guys are most likely to do this as a buyer's representation. Okay. I'm pulling all the disclosures that come with that. In our particular state, it's called a BRCB. It's a broker's compensation. I'm taking that. And by the way, I have signed all the spots that I'm going to have to sign prior to going. And I'm going to date it that day. Okay. Then I'm going to take a highlighter and I'm going to highlight all the spots that they're supposed to sign before going. Okay. And date it. Then I'm going to take another colored highlighter and I'm going to highlight all the sections that I have to negotiate or I should not be filling out in advance before, because it should be a negotiation about concessions. Okay. So, and then I'm going to take 2 copies of those, because if I'm going on the appointment, I'm going on the appointment like I'm getting it. Okay. I'm not just going on one without. Now, the most common thing most people throw up here, well, Brian, you don't know if they're going to do the, 30-day or the one house or the 90-day versions of our buyer's representation. You're right. That's why I bring the one I want, which is the long one. And then I have in my car all the time the short one. And I assume, I'm telling you, I assume that I'm getting the long one. But if I don't, no problem at all. I'll do that property. Okay. So then I'm going to have information about, and a show of hands. Now I'm going to see who the honest people are. And any of you guys who have your camera off, you have to hit the at least the electronic version of this. Who has gone to a buyer's appointment or a listing appointment and you did not research the home before you went there, whatever was on MLS, etc.? Raise the hands if you've ever done that. Good for you, Shane. Me too. Me too. Sometimes I've got it. Sometimes I haven't. More often I didn't get it when I did it. So if you guys didn't raise your hands, you either haven't been on one or you just haven't been doing it long enough that you didn't do it. So here's where I'm headed. Always prepare in your prep before. Here's my rule is I minimum do it the day before, unless it's an appointment, that gets scheduled right then. And then I'm going to go. That's a little bit different, but I try to always do this prep work we're talking about the day before. Why do you do it the day before? Somebody type in why you do it the day before. And I can give you a real life example of this. Fresh in your mind, top of your mind, I agree. But then if I was really just sticking with fresh in mind, top of mind, yes, Tim, that's why I do it. Here's the deal. I'm telling you, your printer breaks every single time. The MLS goes down every single time, like when you put it right before. So then you're scrambling, and quite frankly, even people that have been doing this a long time, it stresses you out a little bit, even if you're scrambling to do it. So then you're not in the right headspace when you go and you're going to give your pitch. So the prep, how do I get the higher concessions and commissions? I prep, but I intentionally do it. For me, it's always the day before, because I've been burned too many times with something breaking or something like that before. And or sometimes you'll find out as you go in and you're researching the town that they want to look in and homes there, or you're searching a particular property, it's kind of unique. And it takes you a whole lot more effort than, you're in Eagle and you're, in Eagle, you're in those homes that they built 5,000 of them, over a year. Those aren't as hard to study for as, you get out in little of the areas, some of the semi-customers are customs. Okay. What should you do? And I'm going to throw an open house in here because we are entering the open house season. What's the prep? And put it in the chat box. What's the prep required for an open house? You're going to be the one who is hosting the open house. What's the prep? And you guys, you should be doing this with yourselves like this. And what I mean by that is all of these smart people that are answering here are giving you, it's like a mastermind. They're getting signs. Yep. What else? What's the other prep for my open house? Scheduling, advertising, flyers, business cards. Okay. What else? Okay. Who am I going to pick on? Tim, I know you can answer, so I'm not going to pick on you. I'm going to pick on somebody about Tim's answer. Okay. So Tim answered on there. He had comps before his open house. Okay. What comps from other people should you be pulling before your open house? All sticking with the idea of prep here. What one should you do? Okay, Tom says other homes for sale. I'm not letting you off, Tom. You got to explain it more. Think like you're talking to a very first person. They just got their license and they showed up to the team meeting. They've never done an open house before.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, go Tom.
Well, there's apps that make it pretty easy these days. You just pull it up, and if someone asks, this home that I'm open housing isn't fit, then I can just pop it up real quick. Well, here's 4 others in the area, and I get done at 2. I can show you those, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Just not being able to say, I'm done. This home doesn't work. Sorry, good luck. I at least have some, bullets in my gun to keep going.
100%. Now here, let me explain. So Tom's scenario can be accomplished a couple different ways, right? So if you did not hear, so first of all, you should prep the homes in the neighborhood. Why did they go to the open house? It's because they saw the sign. I know you guys think it's because of advertising. It's not. It's because they saw the darn sign when they drove by because they liked the neighborhood. So you got to pull comps in the neighborhood or know all the properties for sale because you're sitting on a 3-2 is the house that you're open or sitting on, and that 3 that's not really what they want. To what Tom was saying, they really want a 4-3 or 5-3 or something like that, right? So you want to have the neighborhood. Here's what I believe. I believe you pull those comps that we just talked about, the micro, so a CMA just for that neighborhood, and I believe you should know what all those properties are somewhat. And here's what I do. I just literally get on the MLS, I look at the pictures, I read the comments, I don't memorize. I'm just like that I saw it because the way you can make what Tom said even better, again, back to the idea of why do I get more commissions or why do I get more close, is because I can now say it, you guys, like this. Well, you probably, if you're looking for a 4-2, you got that one over on Masters is probably a good representation, and let's pull that one up. So by saying that, because I know there's one over there, I get more credit than just showing the app. Well, let's pull up the neighborhood. No, I know the neighborhood. I'm using the app or Zillow or whatever to pull up that. Okay. What does that have in common? And Brian, are you all around? No, what I'm trying to teach you guys is prep. If you prep yourself before your calls, if you prep yourself before these appointments and treat it like that, you have a better chance. Okay. Last 2 minutes. We're going to go back and see what you remembered from the very beginning. Tell me, you can only put one category of person that you're going to bump along in your weekly calls. Type them. And I'm going to have AI look to see if you didn't answer, you have to stay on here until you do. Past clients, good. SOI, good. And right now, some people are trying to get off because they didn't answer. Neighborhood, friends, good. There's one, remember, yep, somebody dropped. Okay, how about lender and past clients? Excellent. Okay, don't forget, you guys, you got investors too, is the one that you have. Okay, go today, preferably in the next couple hours, and bump 2 of those people along. Make the calls. You have a way better chance if you do that today, and you'll go the whole week, than if you wait and say, gosh, I don't have a hole till tomorrow in the morning or whatever. Well, tomorrow in the morning, you're going to find yourself doing something else. So please do 2 today. I appreciate all you guys. Have a great week, and go make some money.
Bye.